Join us. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So we're here on Zoom, and I guess the first thing that immediately.
So I was like, yes, get into the zeitgeist. Let's have fun again.
Well, no, and I agree. It's 5 years. It's much longer than that. It's almost going on 10.
Interesting that you use spark it as a choice of words.
Spark.
Toronto and minus 27 below weather. That was not easy.
Come on, you
Literally
was
smart.
naked. And I was naked. You know what?
Good times.
You know what stops.
I still have that picture.
That'll be the trade-off.
Today, because it feels very timeless and applicable to so much of what happens in the world constantly.
Yeah, something that I was kind of thinking as.
For me, there was a thing of like, the notion.
It's delicious.
Looks tasty.
However,
I have headphones on.
so
Are
you can
both
actually
on
direct
now?
questions to Casey.
Is that you? I could not recognize you.
Hello.
Now that you're holding a severed body part, I know it's you.
You're Casey, because kind of what Brian was speaking.
I mean, going back to what Brian said, I just wanted the opportunity to give a purple bloated performance chant. No, I don't. I felt like the first episode, so much of it, maybe this is always the case, was just trying to figure out, and no pun intended, like the DNA of the show, right? And particularly the visual DNA, that dream sequence, the kind of visual language, a lot of the fun of that for me, as well as kind of getting to know all the people on the screen here and working with them, was just figuring out, okay, this is what the show is going to be, and this is how it's going to break down. But a moment that jumps to mind was early on when we started filming the second episode, I think, which is when Will basically inadvertently starts therapy with Hannibal, and going to start. There were like 3 scenes in that episode, I think. And Brian, you were on set and suggested that we do the first scene with Will up on the balcony, and then you kind of bring him down over the course of the episode. And I remember that kind of grounded, that the way that was going to take us through the rest of the first season, really. And that grounded. Is somebody playing the harmonica?
Yeah, Mads, what about you? When was the moment that you kind of felt that Hannibal was this character that you wanted to play and craft your own vision for and continue that story?
I don't know. I mean,
I always felt like I was,
Yeah, that one.
That was also one of my favorite things about working with Caroline, was just her coming up and saying that I feel like this character would evolve toward having a relationship.
Yeah. Quite yet, but no.
Foolish thing to say.
I know. So
Premature.
you could be in the oven next. Exactly.
So many ways to die on this show.
But Caroline
take
is
one of
so
them.
magnetic, and I think
At the end, Beverly is like another character. She was the character.
Jack.
Is that something you would ever be interested in doing if it came up?
Wow. Yeah, why not? If I could have a
that's
one.
Can I have a twin? Just really
join. You do. Will Graham does have one. We've never. I told that to all of them.
Not us.
Everyone is the smartest person in the room, but Gillian, when Bedelia is the smartest person in the room,
the drunkest.
He seems like the only person.
I have no idea.
That if I just twist off of a gray area, that read it one way or another and still think that you knew what she was saying or what she meant by it, or and I honestly, that anybody bought my shit is just a miracle, because it was all me. I'm glad I didn't take it any more seriously. Could you imagine me, the entire plane ride? Oh, fuck, what does this mean? but he said this. I would have gone mad.
I think you're right, Brian. The smartest person in the room.
Time, I have to say, was that day.
Too late now, Gillian.
Did it.
Chicken show.
Oh God, that was American Gods. See what I said?
However, yeah. However,
Oh, David Bowie does need to make an appearance in season 4.
See it happening.
So are you saying it was gods? He's gone.
That's the quote.
She's gone. Goodbye,
I
Jillian.
remember. David, you've got an hour to shoot the entire scene, then Julian gets back on the plane. Yeah, I remember that. On a Sunday.
There were so many times where I didn't know how Jillian.
Production. No, it was. I mean,
Swearing.
after I mentioned American Gods.
Um,
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yeah.
No, I was just saying that it was I mean, the only way that, and so I'm very grateful that you didn't. Martha,
As if we needed any more evidence that Gillian could shift seamlessly between shows.
When people started saying I was comic relief, I just went with it. I went, yeah, I meant it that way. And so,
no, but I think
we got an actual pig baby. We got a metaphorical pig baby.
You had an infamous.
Yeah. Was that the one where Dave
would not yell at you? I'm not yelling at you now.
It was your ear was yelling.
I remember sometimes we wondered how people didn't twig to Hannibal earlier because his food was always scattered with like dead chicken feet and bugs and the eyes of oxygen. Nobody has put this together.
I remember times where Matt was like, "I'm just going to take this skull off the plate because it might be tipping things."
Yeah, but I thought that was part of his audacity, was that he was in just bald-faced. He was just out there, not lying to anybody. Hannibal was never lying to anybody. He was just putting the truth out, and everybody just thought, "Oh, he's kidding." But
we also had a crime show, and it was like, can't we point the finger somewhere else?
But there's no way it could be this guy. He wouldn't have any time. He's out there killing half the wildlife.
I remember that party that the hors d'oeuvres in the party with the chicken feet and the claws sticking up, and that was actually it wasn't an act.
It was.
It was.
Absolutely.
Wait, Mads, remember when we ate the blood pudding on set? We were eating chocolate that was made. We had 2 versions of it.
I just remember that wasn't that actually in Toronto?
You're muting. You're muting a little.
Your microphone.
There you are.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah. Well, now you can. No, I was just saying, wasn't that in Toronto for Florence?
I also remember eating hot dogs. Supposed to be sexy, and we just have crumbs all over us. It just wasn't.
I wonder if it couldn't have been the same day, but easy, Scott.
Just don't hand
but
That's the whole arc of the show.
No, he lost his salad. He didn't eat his hot dog.
I never thought I'd say this, but I want to hear the hot dog story.
Yeah.
My hot dog story?
Yeah, come on, Casey.
Oh, boy. Oh yeah.
I remember the beer that I had about half an hour after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good
I'm sure the
call.
hot dog was good too. Yeah. That was a long night. That was maybe the longest night of some very, very long nights.
Was that the final of season 2?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I do not remember any food in the.
Well, I think kind of like mutual recognition is people who've been, if not lonely, but completely unique and felt that way for the whole of their lives. And then somebody comes along who, I mean, in Hannibal's case, it's conscious, right? I think he consciously sees in Will this thing, this rare thing, and Will perhaps unconsciously the same way. And the thing he's recognizing in Hannibal is, I suppose, the thing that his greatest secret, right, is the thing that he's most scared of in himself. And that's a very powerful thing. I always thought about it in a bit like somebody who, like, you're not only not only are you like a great chess player, but you're the only person who plays chess in the whole world, and nobody else has ever heard of chess. And then some other person walks into the room and they're carrying a chessboard, you know, and then just your whole world changes, right? So I think it's like that.
One night in Bangkok,
but with a lot of blood, you know.
One night in Bangkok. I think it's also the
layers of makeup.
Please, I had lots of questions about all those deaths. So if you have any feeling, Raoul, about if you think there's a death he'll ever meet or why he survives, I would love to hear.
He'll never meet a death. I don't believe this man would be dead.
Immortal.
So I feel to be run over. Repeat. Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
You know, he put Chilton through hell. But
you're scaling it down. You're going from 7 hours to 5.5. I think
that'd be better. That'd be better.
Better every day.
Better every day. Actually, you know, you sort of never knew what was going to be shown on set, or what the experience was going to be like, or how far we were going to go, or how dark it was going to. Up with 6 canes the next day for Chilton. You know, it's like, let's try these, and I said, let's try this. It didn't matter what you suggested.
So Brian, I wonder if you could kind of spark us off about any potential musical options for Hannibal.
The first Hugh Dancy's Ellen Green.
Yeah.
Chilton's going to sing "I'm the Worst Pie in London."
Let's get one thing straight. I'll dance it, but nobody wants to pay me for singing.
A man can dance.
Asks, how do you think Hanagram / Hannibal and Will would have spent their quarantine time? And it must have been a very hard time for cannibals because of no hunting.
Well, you know exactly.
I don't know.
Where everybody is.
It's easy, isn't it? You know where everybody is. They're at home.
A lot more dead bodies.
Baking. It's perfect. The oven is already on.
Well, in Denmark, you were allowed to.
Because what he's saying, they'd be in Denmark. So convenient.
Denmark.
Always pulling it back to Viking country, I know.
Ended up on Netflix, and within the first week, it was one of the trending shows, and it still is this week as well. And kind of what was that like to see how much people wanted to watch the show?
You're seeing personally my reaction to that news live. That's great.
I think that would be wonderful.
Contrary to Brian, I'm the opposite of Brian. To talk about a well-chosen word, I have no feed. So, you know, I rely mostly upon Brian to kind of, and you, I guess, to feed me this kind of information. It's great. That's really great.
And I guess that can go to anyone, really.
You muted for a second. Any what? Oh. Sorry?
Have you seen fanfic?
I'm not sure I want to see it, but there's a small little part of me that is a little curious. I think you know what I'm hinting at. It's slightly erotic, but it's kind of interesting.
Well, the
point of clarity was that is Hannibal, and I think that's the root of him being the devil. Is sort of like there is that appreciation of things that are beauty, and you know, one of my favorite things about talking with
your dog and talk to everybody. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Jumping right off that, Brian, because I think you put it so wonderfully. A user named Hannibal's Tit. One of it's an incredibly deep question from a wonderfully named user.
Now I'm thinking of Scaramanga's superfluous third nipple from Golden Gun.
I think Hannibal.
Oh my goodness! I think he'd do sort of. Let's just say he.
And,
did you want me to be specific? I think.
I mean, if you want to get specific.
I want to be a dumpling.
You are a dumpling.
A hot dog. Definitely a hot dog.
You would be a favorite if you. Will.
I mean, obviously Jimmy Price, right? you know, you go to the most responsible member of your community. Just look at that face.
I've also got his bar, all of his booze.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but Jimmy's drinking again in season 4. I just want.
Starling's Lamb asks, and I guess kind of leading off of that, thank you all so much for joining us. This was really amazing. Brian, I'll start with something less definitive. How does season 4 look to you right now? Like visually, like what's your vision for it, and what can you kind of tease? You got to make your dream season.
It's very sort of sunny and sweaty, as compared to the cold, harsh realities of Toronto.
For Chilton, right? Chilton stays cold.
He's always going to be hot.
I stay in Toronto.
By
Being
yourself.
slow, I'm slow roasted. I'm the only Cuban member of the cast, but I'm not allowed to enjoy the beach.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It is rude, and you know what happens when people do something.
Other funny user question.
You know, I am very hopeful. You know, the great thing about the idea, as it were, and then the story picks up from that point, and will adapt.
It'll be like grumpy old men with cannibalism.
That's the log line.
Speak for yourself.
Old men complain about the early bird special.
Nobody has any teeth.
What'd you say? And on a personal level, I guess for each of you, where do you see your characters? I mean, Scott, where do you think, apart from looking after Will's dogs, where do you see yourself when season 4 happens?
Oh, I decided he had enough of this, and then he got really bored. And
I want to know about Zella.
Zeller is teaching at the FBI Academy.
What's that?
Zeller is teaching at the FBI Academy and has to get Jimmy Price to come back.
Yeah. He's probably
By
got
seducing his twin.
Yeah, trouble with the student. It wouldn't surprise me either for Zeller.
Lots of twins. I'm taking time. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
It's so good to see everyone's face.
To bring us together.
Thanks, guys.
We're the ones saying thanks. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Everybody. Amen.
Thanks for making it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nerdist.
Bye, Hugh. Bye, Baz. Bye,
Good
everyone.
to see everybody.